Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, May 23rd, 2019. I'm Keith Tebow. A fundraiser was announced this week to raise money to build the replica Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall at Bicentennial Park here in Fall River. We'll have the details. Mayor Jasio Correa led a celebration of Haitian heritage in Fall River at a flag-raising ceremony at Government Center. And the Diocese of Fall River honored Catholic school students with a mass and special concert this week. We'll have those stories and more coming up, but first, let's take a look at the headline news of the week. We bring in Phil Devitt, the digital city editor at the Herald News. Phil, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Let's start with economic development in the city of Fall River. We've been following for quite some time, long before you were on board here at the Herald News, about the dealings the city of Fall River has been trying to attempt to deliver in terms of economic development initiatives in Fall River. A while back, the city severed its ties with the Fall River Office of Economic Development, and we'll have more on that in just a few moments. The Redevelopment Authority was tasked to hire a economic development director for the city of Fall River, and yesterday, Phil, it appeared that they did just that.
They did. Yeah, this city has been, as everybody knows, without an economic development leader for some time. And for the last 10 months, the RDA board has been searching for a director. We finally have one. Her name is Maria Marasco. She hails from South Yarmouth. She's the Southeast Regional Director of the Massachusetts Office of Business Development. So that's a state agency, but this candidate, now director, has some familiarity with Fall River because that's where her office is based. She's been there for almost 5 years now, we're told. Maria has an MBA. She's an attorney. She has expertise in wind energy, which is just becoming a bigger and bigger topic around here. And the Redevelopment Authority will give her a 3-year contract, we're told, for a salary of $130,000 per year. You know, we got to know a little bit about Maria last night and her philosophy on small businesses. She says small business needs just as much attention as large corporations. She says that's key to economic development. So it'll be interesting to see how she implements that philosophy going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have an economic development director now.
Yeah, I know that Joe Good at the Herald has been following this story right along. There's been a lot of starts and stops throughout this process. I believe it was a week or a week and a half ago, the Redevelopment Authority actually was in contract negotiations with another candidate. That fell through. It just seems like that this position, for some reason, has not gained any traction. So I guess it's good to see that it's finally come to a conclusion.
It is good to see that, definitely. It's you know, I think it's a good sign for the businesses in this community. And you know, and the residents as well. You know, this new economic development director will be an employee of the RDA under a change that was just announced recently, and it's an interesting time.
Taking a look back at economic development and the city of Fall River and what was formerly the Fall River Office of Economic Development, now Bristol County Economic Development Consultants. After our news last week, I believe it was last Friday, Phil, it was announced that, if you may remember, once Mayor Correa had disavowed the city's connection with froed, froed actually moved out of the 6th floor offices it had there at Government Center to a location in downtown. The city actually sued formerly froed for back rent, and last Friday that suit was dropped. Do we have any other details on what happened there?
Yeah, so this lawsuit had been making its way through Superior Court for the last 2 years, and you know, it was looking like this thing was going to go to the court. I mean, we were gearing up to cover this, and there were going to be a lot of big names involved, and you know, Jo herself was, you know, preparing. This is going to be big, and suddenly, just like that, the lawsuit was dropped, and without the city receiving the back rent it alleges it was owed by froed, which was the amount, I think it was about $113,000.
Right.
But at the same time, the RDA is also facing a lawsuit brought by 3 citizens, including Ken Fiola, who is, of course, still tied to what we would now call the Bristol County Economic Development Consultants, alleging that the board violated open meeting law when it voted to end a management contract with the nonprofit agency back in November. So, one piece of litigation is out of the way, but there's still a lot to be reported here.
So, yeah, very interesting to see how it just popped up that the city dropped its lawsuit against former froed. And again, we'll still see how this open meeting law violation charge moves forward. And that'll be something we'll still follow between those 2 organizations. I guess once this is done, it looks like the city's dealing with former froed, now Bristol County Economic Development Consultants. That chapter will probably officially be done. All right, up next, very sort of alarming story this week, Phil. 5 Fall River residents actually tested positive for fentanyl overdose, if you will,
Right.
after these individuals thought that they were actually smoking marijuana. Instead, it was fentanyl, which is an extremely dangerous opioid. Disturbing how this came to be this week.
Yeah, it certainly is disturbing. This information came to us via the Fall River Opioid Task Force, particularly coordinator of the task force's Project Reconnect, Nikki Fontaine.
Yeah.
We had a good discussion about this story in the newsroom before we ran it, because it's certainly not our intention to come across as alarmist about this. Obviously, the legalization of marijuana means it's more prevalent in the community. More people are using it. We don't want to scare people unnecessarily. But nevertheless, 5 overdoses on what people believe to be marijuana is certainly noteworthy. These people are okay. They had to be revived, and they did test positive for fentanyl. But according to Fontaine, none of them, A, have a history of opioid use, and B, were aware that this stuff contained a dangerous mixture of fentanyl, but also a type of tranquilizer in some cases. At the same time, a federal agency, in an internal notice to emergency services throughout the country, made note of this recently, and Beth Fonts, our city's emergency services director, confirmed that for us this week. Basically, this substance looks like marijuana. It has a texture, a crumbly texture similar to marijuana, but it's a little more difficult to break up. And under a microscope, it looks like a plant, but it's actually crystalline, and it's green and clumpy, but hard to crush,
right.
According to what Fontaine told us. So, we don't want people to worry unnecessarily. We want them to be vigilant about this. The advice we got from the people we talked to is if you're buying marijuana, buy it from a licensed dispensary,
right.
a grower that you trust. Don't consume it if you don't know where it came from.
Right. And in this instance, it's important to note, as you just mentioned, that in these instances, the residents reported buying what they believe to be marijuana from street-level dealers. So there's no connection at all to any legal sources of the sale of marijuana here in the city of Fall River. And it's also interesting to note that 2 of the cases involved residents who overdosed after eating what they believed were marijuana edibles. Edibles, of course, are available at the recreational marijuana dispensaries that are available and licensed here in the Commonwealth. So something just to be aware of, and it's scary when you hear stories like this, no doubt.
Certainly is, yeah. So just be vigilant about it. And you might say, why is this happening? Well, Nikki, Fontaine speculates that this might be a way for traffickers to disguise fentanyl as marijuana, which is, of course, legal here in Massachusetts now and in becoming legal in some form throughout the United States, in many states.
Yeah.
So just a way to get it in.
Right. Finally this week, good news, Almacs Diner back open this week. It was a short turnaround for the new owners of Almacs Diner. One of the investors is Cliff Ponte, City Council President, and his family taking over the diner on President Avenue. So good to see that, that diner back up and running, just opening again this week.
It is great news. You know, it's been open now for a couple of days, but they had a soft opening over the weekend, and
Right.
I've heard from numerous people who were there said they really enjoyed it. And the response to this story on social media tells you pretty much everything you need to know as well. It's just comment after comment of well wishes for the family, the Ponte family, but also for this iconic, we're calling it, diner that has been a part of people's lives here in Fall River for generations, you know, for pretty much their whole lives. You know, so that's what's great about it. The menu we detailed the other day seems pretty tasty. There's a lot of grilled cheese options for you grilled cheese fanatics out there. But, you know, we were talking about this in the office as well. We think Almacs is, you know, a great symbol for the city as well. It's been up, it's been down, but when it's down, it bounces back and in a big way, and people are always happy to see it.
Yeah.
So it's old, but it's new again.
Yeah.
Have you been by yet, Keith?
I have not been by since it's reopened. I went there many times as a kid and as an adult, but haven't been there in quite some time. So we'll have to make a point to get down there. We wish them all the best as they move forward.
We do.
All right.
And
Phil.
we should know. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Keith,
go ahead.
I also want to give a little plug, a little Herald News plug. We've got some. I haven't seen them in person yet, but Herald News photos lining the walls taken at
Correct.
Almacs over the years.
Yeah,
because,
some of the famous people, Governor Patrick, Senator Kennedy, I believe at one point, there's a photo up there of him. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren, I believe, as well. So, yeah, it's so good. So please check it out if you have a chance. Speaking
There's
of
room for everyone at that table.
That's right. Speaking of checking things out, what can we check out in the Herald News over the next few days?
So Memorial Day weekend is coming up, and we're going to do as much coverage of that as we can. Tomorrow, volunteers are fanning out across the city to lay flags on veterans' graves, and we're going to tell that story with words and pictures and cover all the big events happening this weekend. Very important, especially in this city where we're so closely connected to service.
Absolutely, and of course, big parade here in Fall River on Monday, so we'll look forward to having information on that. All right, Phil, have a great week. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.
Thanks, Keith. Take care.
We'll have more FRC Media News after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Echocardiographer, Charlton Memorial Hospital, located at 363 Highland Avenue, is in need of a full-time echocardiographer to produce images of heart muscle and functioning by setting up ultrasound equipment, attaching electrodes to patients, and recording cardiac data. Job number 121-69839. Sales and Services Associate. Starwood Marriott, located at 1630 President Avenue, is looking for a full-time sales and services associate to process reservation requests, changes, and cancellations received by phone, fax, or mail. Must have excellent communication and computer skills. Job number 121-68260. Residential Framer. Tradesman International is looking for a full-time, experienced residential framer to be able to read blueprints and lay out framing projects in the Fall River area. Job number 121-62021. Burlington Coat Factory, located at 181 Mariano Bishop Boulevard, is looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Cashier Associate, job number 121-52574. Retail Receiving Associate, job number 121-52582. South Coast Health, located at 363 Highland Avenue, is also looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Personal computer technician, job number 121-70045. Retail pharmacist, job number 121-71332. For more information on these or other positions, visit masshireJobQuest.detma.org or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. A fundraiser to help defray the costs for the $1.4 million Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall slated to be built at Bicentennial Park in Fall River was announced earlier this week. The city, in conjunction with wall committee members and state officials, plan to get the monument built by next year, but community donations are needed. Here's more.
Starting this Friday, and then again on June 14th, our firefighters will be out on the streets, and similar to the Fill the Boot, this is Tip the Helmet. And citizens will be able to, from 1 p.m. on till 6 p.m., note a firefighter on the street, possibly accompanied by a veteran or a wall committee member as they tip the helmet. And oh, Chief, oh gosh, that's pressure, Chief, that's pressure. There we go. So we have our first donation, and I know police are going to be right there in it too. But so starting this Friday, and again next Friday at all areas outside the stations and corners of the city, our fire department will be out there, and we are encouraging, as the mayor said, every citizen, every visitor, whether it's a dime, a nickel, a quarter, a dollar, or even a check made out to the Vietnam Memorial Wall Committee to participate.
We were honored, and then we were humbled by the whole idea that we could take part in such a great cause as this memorial to our Vietnam veterans. Then our second thought was, we're all in. And our membership is totally behind this. And again, we feel very honored, I'm sure Chief Dupere, the police department, the EMS division feel the same way that we do. That we're all always been aligned with any veteran group. Many of our members are veterans. Some of our members are actually in the service, and some of them are deployed right now. So again, I'd like to thank the committee, thank Carol Fiola, and everybody involved for allowing us to take part of this.
To recognize the Haitian community to Fall River, Mayor Jesu Correa held a Haitian flag-raising ceremony at the 3rd Street corner of Government Center.
It's really an honor as the mayor to be able to come down to this beautiful plaza and raise this flag with different members of these different communities that really contribute to the very fabric that makes Fall River such a great place of diversity, a place of culture, a place of great food, and just a wonderful place to grow. So I'm very honored to be standing with some fellow Fall Riverites and Haitians here in the city of Fall River.
We come in Fall River, me and my family, until 2002. We got your church on Quarry Street. You know, today, you know, a lot of people go to work, you know, people go to school. And then I said thank you for the secretary. And then he helped me when I talked to him about the Haitian flag. And he sit down with me. And that's why we're here today. And I said thank you.
I have actually some experience with the Haitian community because I was in Port-au-Prince many years ago when it was such not so good there. I was in Labadie.
Yes.
You know Labadie, that was a beautiful place. But great people, and it just adds to this great culture and diversity that we are so blessed with in our community.
We'll have more FRC Media News after this.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Tara. She is a Bulldog Staffy mix. Sometimes she'd be a little shy at first when she first meets someone, but she's really sweet and playful. She loves other dogs. She loves to play with other dogs. For children, we would probably say older kids for her, just because at first she is a little shy and timid, but she's really good. She does listen really well too. She's very treat and food motivated. So if you want to work with her, that's one way of becoming friends with her. So if you want to come down and meet Tara at Forever Paws, we are located at 300 Linwood Street, Fall River, Massachusetts.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Cammie. Cammie here is a 4-year-old mixed Tory. She's a very sweet girl with incredibly soft fur. As you can tell, she just kind of likes to soak up anything that you're giving to her. As far as what kind of home she would be best in, she could adjust to other cats. Given her behavior here at the shelter, we're thinking that she hasn't lived with cats before, but she'd be able to come around. Dogs she might not be good with though. Kids should also be just fine, but ideally she'd be in a quieter home, given her personality. So if you'd like to meet Cammie, come on down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
In a bid to recognize what the Diocese of Fall River called the beauty of every child, a special Mass and concert was held at St. Mary of the Assumption Cathedral recently.
So the purpose for today is to celebrate the beauty of every child, and we're bringing close to 900 students together for Mass with our Bishop, and then we're going to have a concert. Christopher Duffley and David St. Germain from Mission Possible will be performing a concert today to help to open the hearts and minds of our teachers and students so that we become a very inclusive, welcoming diocese.
Oh, it's great to see this cathedral filled with young people, and we've got kids from all across the diocese. So I think it's good for me to see it, but also it's good for the other kids to see that there are, other young people from across the diocese gathering for this Mass with the Bishop and then this concert.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can watch FRC Media News Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. and visit our website, frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.